Starting a podcast is hard. Starting a business is hard. Starting a YouTube channel is hard. Why is it hard? Because you've never done it. Every time you do something, it gets easier because you have that experience to draw from. And the more you do a certain thing, the easier it gets because you have the well of experience to draw from.
It's going to be uncomfortable, even just taking these steps.
Hey everybody, welcome to Dynamic Range, episode number 2. So glad that you're here, so glad that you're with us. And today we're going to be talking about create, because in this podcast, we want to inspire entrepreneurs and creators to create, to cultivate, so that they can conquer in their respective fields. So today I'm going to share with you a 5-step framework on how to create. So I'm excited to dig in this. As always, I am joined by my co-host, Alfredo Briones. And Alfredo's just awesome. He's just an awesome dude. He loves the Lord. He loves his work. He loves his wife. He loves his dogs. He doesn't have a truck, but if he did, he would love his truck. Everybody needs a friend like Alfredo because he is so genuine. He's so faithful. And if ever I need anything, first one on the list I call. So please welcome Alfredo Briones.
Hello. I am episode 2. It's a
Yes, sir.
Dude, it's gonna be so fun. And what are we? I want to go straight into it. What are we gonna
Let's do it.
talk about? Let's do it.
Can I be honest real quick?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, man.
I hated episode 1. And yeah, I really wanted to reshoot it. And we had a conversation about that because I felt off. I felt good when I was recording. Then I went back and I watched the game film. I'm like, bro, this was off a little bit.
What did you hate the most about it?
I was creating clips from the podcast, and I found myself doing that. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, I can't believe this. And then 2, this is part of the creation process, right? And this is what we're going to dig into a little bit today. But
For sure.
You go back and you realize, man, I was doing these things and my energy was low. I'm trying to be close to the mic. And because of that, I'm not wanting to overpower the mic. So I'm just trying to not project as much. So I just felt off. So today I'm going to move the mic away a little bit, pump up the energy. Right now it is 6:44 a.m. That's when we record these things. So it's early for us, but we're going to bring it. We're going to bring the energy. And anyway, that's how I felt. Just low energy overall and not really excited about my delivery and my passion. But today is a new day.
It's a new day, and I think what's interesting, we're our biggest critics, so 100%. Half of the things that we notice, no one's even gonna pay attention to. But
no,
because it's the first podcast, it's always uncomfortable. There's gonna be some little mistakes here and there, and so sometimes, just you're constantly, even just the thought of trying to create. When we sometimes let go, I think I get in my way because even creating this podcast, I'm telling myself just let go and let whatever needs to be created happen through this mutual conversation.
Yeah. And that's a conversation we had because we're we're literally building this thing in public, right? We're not traditional podcasters or newscasters. We're not formally trained in communication or any of this stuff, but really we decided ultimately, hey, let's just keep it, let's roll with it, and let's learn from it and grow. And again, this is all almost like a big case study for everybody on how to create something new. Right. And we just want to keep it real. We want to be able to show our mistakes, even if it costs us whatever, viewers, comments, subscribers, XYZ. We want
to be organic.
100%. 100%. So yeah, I mean, speaking of like the whole idea of creating, I know I mentioned doing a 5-step framework, and we'll get there for sure. But at first, I wanted to mention, a lot of people, whenever they create something, they get really excited about it. And they should, because creating something is new and it's exciting. But a lot of people stop there at just like, oh, I tried something and it was great. Oh, I tried working out and I went to one class and it was awesome. And I'm going to get in shape and yada, yada, yada. And then, the next day rolls around and it doesn't happen. Like, oh, I did it that one time and, I feel like I'm doing the right thing. But really what a lot of creatives do, right? It's like, why would we inspire creatives to create? Isn't that the definition of a creative, is to create? And in some senses, yes, but in a lot of senses, creatives are some of the worst creators because they don't take the step, right? A lot of creatives are all creatives up here, but not creatives out in the world. And so a lot of creatives have ideas, but they don't really know how to, or they don't really take the steps to initiate those ideas. And so, again, this podcast is to encourage those creatives, encourage the entrepreneurs to create, to make mistakes, to step out when it's not perfect, when it's not 100% polished, but still do it anyways. And
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah. And so, again, like, creation for me it's a seed that's to be celebrated, but a seed takes cultivation to be able to get where it needs to go.
Well, let me bring this thought. How do you differentiate when a idea or something is good? Because, we're constantly creating even in our heads, but when do you know it's a good idea?
When do I know it's a good idea to create?
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know. It could be a feeling that I get, like a gut feeling, and I just got to roll with it. Other times it could, if I'm being real honest, a financial decision and figuring out, okay, does my family need this right now? And, but yeah, I think ultimately, like, when it comes down to creating, if it's a good idea, I think that time will tell if it's a good idea. But
Yeah.
it's our job, and it's our requirement. Not requirement, it's not the right word, but it's our job to do the thing, to release it, and then figure out, okay, is this good? But I think good takes time.
Good is subjective as well.
Mm-hmm.
And even just like finding before we even talk about a place of rest, I think even just you brought this up yesterday, even just, in the book of Genesis, when God created, the first days, and just that alone, I feel like we sometimes, I think right now I'm in a season where I'm trying to find a place of rest, because where I create the best ideas is when my mind's at rest, when I have clarity, when there is that peace of mind. And there's a few steps that I do think, and maybe just there's a few steps that are subjective, at least in a way, as like we all do different things to get to that place of creating. But at least for me, like, my way of starting my day can, look a lot different than yours. And I think like that in itself can help other creatives, and just like finding, even just, for example, like, I like to go out for a walk.
Yep.
I like to, get in prayer before I even start any editing session or even touch my computer, because I feel like that state of mind can help me create something even greater than, because I don't think anything that I create comes from me. There's, God, he gets all the credit, because I really don't know the way my ideas like sometimes just flow I cannot take the credit, but yeah.
No, bro, that's so good because a lot of times creatives feel like, and I'm in this boat sometimes too. It's just like you're waiting on that spark, and there's no like system or formula or anything to create that spark to start the creative process. And a lot of times we are in this boat as a creative and an entrepreneur of sometimes chaos and
Mm.
just like sometimes being in survival mode. And the thing, again, going back to Genesis 1, the thing I love about creation, it says that in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And the earth was formless and void. And it was chaotic.
Mm.
But the Spirit of God was hovering, was brooding over the chaos. And then God said, let there be light. And there was light. And that's the first thing that God did is like, there was chaos. And then the Spirit hovered and brooded over the chaos.
Mm.
And then from that realm, the Spirit hovering over the chaos, God spoke. And then there was light, there was order, and then it was good. And I believe God rested every day. That's not in the text specifically, but I believe that God rested every day after creation, and then he had the seventh day of rest, which again speaks to, if God rested, we need to rest. And if he rested in creation, then we need to rest in creation. So that's a vital part. You mentioned it, rest in creation, in the art of creating. But I love the fact that the Spirit of God was hovering, was brooding over the waters, brooding over the chaos.
Mm.
And I think that's true for us too as creatives and business owners.
Dude, keep diving into that, because you said you believe God rested in between each day. Like, talk a
Mm-hmm.
little bit more about that, because yeah.
Yeah, I think God obviously is all powerful, right? And he spoke, let there be light, and there was light.
Yeah.
And then there's evening, then there's morning, and then, God said it was good. So I think, I don't really believe that God spoke all day and gave this huge dissertation on light. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't, but I think he spoke, let there be light, boom, and there was light, sun, moon, stars, all the stuff. So that's just my thoughts and my ideas.
Mm.
I could be totally off on that, but I believe that God's big enough to speak one thing and it's created and that's it. And that, then that's the day. And then he rested.
Mm. So, dude, let's talk about the 5 steps of,
All right.
what we were
Are
talking
you
about.
ready?
Because
You ready for the
no,
5-step framework for creating?
no, I love that, because you said you created that within just this morning.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Just woke up. Woke up with about 2, maybe 3, 2.5 of these, and was just kind of fleshing it out. And I think that's a lot of times how the creative process works. Like you get this idea, and then you begin to flesh it out. And
Mm. Ooh,
so yeah.
before you go to the 5
Mm-hmm.
steps, like, I think there's even, this is important. It matters the place you set or it's super important the time you set when you create. Like, it's like, for example, for me, it's a lot clear for me in the mornings. For
Mm-hmm.
others, it could be, in the afternoons. And I think that plays a huge role as well. Like,
Mm-hmm.
when you set your time to create, because
Mm-hmm.
I'll try to, an idea will come later in the evening. I have to let that rest
Mm-hmm.
when I'm, because if I, I'm so, or I can be so impulsive with ideas. Sometimes I'm, especially nowadays when everything's such a go. But, I'm learning that you have to let that rest, that even just that
Mm-hmm.
thought. But yeah, anyways, I just wanted to put that out
Yeah.
there. But
No,
5 steps.
five
Or go
steps
ahead.
5 steps for creating.
Yeah.
And the reason I wanted to come up with this is because a lot of times we just get lost. We get lost in this whole thing. And again, we celebrate the seed of creation, but we don't follow up with what we need to do to actually see it come to fruition. And so I think this 5-step framework is vital for every creative, for every entrepreneur, for everybody out there who's kind of struggling with what to do next with an idea. So first, I mentioned idea. The first step with this 5-step framework about creating is inspiration. Right? We mentioned
What
inspiration.
inspires you? Yeah.
We mentioned inspiration. We mentioned the spark. We mentioned these things, other terms that really get everything going. So it's like, okay, what's the inspiration? So Fredo, bro, what do you feel like? I know you mentioned being in the morning. What else inspires you to create?
There's, the easy responses, my family,
Yeah.
time at rest and all those things do really play a huge role. Everything I do outside of what I create is inspiring to me. Even just going and visiting new areas, new communities, new cultures,
New York.
being in New York, being in Mexico for a year, which we'll talk about that, on a later episode, because that, also ties in with this entrepreneurship development that I've had to be stretched about. But yeah, I think for me, what inspires me the most is the things around it. And like I said, the more I can let it rest, it just seems to just filter better, or I just feel like my ideas are just a lot more clear. And so it looks different every day. Walking one day, being with my dogs, that in itself inspires me to create. And just the communication, just learning how to do business, like that in itself is inspiring to me. Just the, I guess, the concept of it, of how to, bro, this is uncomfortable, like I don't come from business. No one, I didn't grow up with mentors, that's super important to have, like the right team, the right group, the right, like-minded people, or even people greater than you. But I think like what has inspired me the most, just even through this, bro, like seriously, even just our relationship, being able to just have those small talks in between our edit sessions, or even just sending edits. You inspire me when I think I'm about to drop the craziest edit, and then you send me something even more crazier, and I'm like, bro. So I think there's so many things that inspire me. I know that was a load, a handful, but yeah, I think that's just the mind of my, the creative, I guess.
Yeah, and I think the important thing is that there are, whether you realize it or not, I believe that there are specific things that help get that spark going, right? For you, just, knowing you and being close, being really good friends with you for a while, it's like having that time in the mornings to walk and to exercise, I feel like is a really good time for you to create. For me, a lot of my ideas come when I'm at rest, when I'm relaxing. Honestly, it's super cliche, but like in the shower is a good time where I get a lot of my ideas, because my mind is at rest, right? I'm just relaxing. Morgan doesn't like when I take long showers, but that's just kind of that's my time, I guess. Like me or not for taking long showers, but I'm a long shower guy, so sorry. And then too, like you said, walks really help just to keep the body moving to where I'm not just stationary. I think movement really helps.
Yeah, I think what's super important too is just even perspective, right? Gratitude plays a huge role, at least for me. Even just knowing that I can go for a walk in the morning, it's like that in itself is a gift. I prayed for days like that, at least, for my walk, everything that I've been through personally and in business. But that in itself, like gratitude plays a huge role in my creation, right? Like just creating, right? Being able to look at being, it sounds cliche, but right. Thank God even just my legs can move today.
Mm-hmm.
Like it sounds so cliche, but it shifts everything for me, and it really helps you have a clearer mind. But
Yeah.
I think that, sorry to cut you off, but I just wanted to say that real quick.
No, that's great. That's great, bro. But I think everybody has something or some things that they do subconsciously that helps them to create. And so what's important is to sit down, figure that out, whether it's in the shower, taking a walk, going on a jog, working out, staying up late, waking up early, I don't know, being with family, being with friends. And that that to me is really big too. Community, finding gaps in my community, finding gaps that my friends are struggling with, some certain things, and then that's where I feel a lot of inspiration is to like, okay, well, how can I help? What can I create? How do I see that in my own life? And then really, for me, a lot of inspiration comes from like my own gaps that I see in my life, and a lot of the content that I create is really speaking directly to me. Just like, okay, what do I need? Okay, let's make this video, let's make this reel, let's make this post, not to tell other people what to do, but to hold myself accountable for the content that I'm creating. So yeah, so step number one in the creation 5-step framework is inspiration. Step number two, right? You get the idea, the inspiration. Step number two, initiation. You take action, right? So when again, we'll use this podcast as a great example because this was nothing until we took action, right? So we
When do you
initiated
decide to take action, though?
right away. Again, I was a part of this week-long coaching program with Omar El Takori called Content to Cash, and he talked about content creation, and he talked about conviction-based content. Now, that's not saying you need to force your convictions on other people, right? But that's like when you feel that inspiration, do it. Go for it. Create it. Create the script. Go shoot it. Get your phone out. Shoot something. Hey, I just think about this. What do XYZ, whatever it may be. So yeah, just taking that initiation. So I had this idea for this podcast, and I knew I needed to make long form content, but honestly, I didn't feel comfortable making a podcast by myself. So about 2 weeks ago, I reached out. I was like, "Hey, Fredo, what do you think about this podcast?" And he's like, "I'm in. Let's do it." So that was step one of initiation. Step two was, okay, and this is actually step three of the process. Step three of the creation process is implementation, right? So it starts step one with the inspiration. Step two, the initiation, the action that you take. And then step three, implementation, is the plan. Okay, what day are we going to shoot? We're both super busy. How do we go about this? We have clients, we have shoots, we have edits that, in all honesty, sometimes we get a little bit behind on. How in the world do we have time to shoot and edit a podcast and deliver this? But we came up with a plan. All right, my kids start getting ready for school at 7:30 in the morning. I'm not doing anything before then, so let's do that. So implementation.
And I think you have to, also acknowledge that it's going to be uncomfortable, even just taking these steps. Like sometimes it's not as easy as other days. And even just implementing, setting up, right? Lighting, putting everything together, like all of that is part of the steps of even just simply saying yes to, we're on it,
Yeah, and that's part of it too. It's like creating. We talked about it in the inspiration phase, but also like with the initiation. We'll take a step back. Initiation. What I did with my studio, my shed, I call it my studio.
Studio.
What I did is like you see this softbox here. I used to take this light behind this softbox with me on every shoot. You see like the little light rays that are coming back here. That's another light back there that you can't see. I used to take that light with me on every shoot. And so it's like, yeah, it was great to have this setup, but whenever I had to shoot, guess what? I tore down my studio. And so now what I did is I bought 2 more lights that I can take with me to shoots that are in a bag already packed. That way these 2 lights stay here. And I don't have to worry about setting up and tearing down, because again, like that conviction-based content, when I want to initiate, when I want to create content, guess what? I got my camera right here on the tripod, and I just flip it over to make it vertical, and then I can just start shooting. I got my microphone, it's already connected to my computer, and we're ready to roll. And yeah, so that's, again, going back to the initiation, the action. Create a space, create an environment where you can create, whether you don't need a full studio at all. But if that's,
Yeah.
having a clean desktop or a clean desk or even a space in your house to create.
Yeah, I think that plays a huge role, even just how you clean your desk. For those that even work from home, right? It matters how you dress from home.
100%.
That plays a huge role. And because some of us are starting out, right, Steven? And we may not have the luxury of getting the lights or being able to just keep stationary lights. So if you're watching and you're in that place, you don't need all the lights. Like, as soon as, like, what I learned for me is like one light at a time. One investment at a time. And truthfully, like it will add up. Like the more but you have to initiate that step. Like you have to have that discipline. I don't know if that's part of the steps, but you got to have the discipline to even just simply set aside for a light, right? But I think it's easy to see it from the outside, maybe, because I know I did, at least starting out, right? How did everyone get all the microphones, the lights? I'm freaking out because I could barely afford a lens, right? I have the 50 millimeter. And that's it. Well, and I also had the stock lens, the 18 to, what is it, 55? But
18 to 55, what, f 4.5 through 5.6?
5.6. Crazy stuff. But, I took some of the greatest photos with that thing.
Yeah.
At least I believe that. But,
yeah,
I don't know if that was,
No, it goes
ahead.
back to start before you're ready, right? You don't need the whole setup, especially now the barrier to entry is so low. Just to shoot on your phone. A lot of people have smartphones. Shout out to the Light Phone 3 with the camera and the flashlight. I got a flashlight now. But
what's the megapixels on that thing?
It's 12, bro. 12 megapixels.
Nice.
Just like my FX3. Same megapixels.
Just like the S3.
Yeah. So yeah, man. So the five-step framework for creation. So step 1, we have the inspiration, the idea. Step 2, we have initiation, the action. Step 3, we have implementation, the plan, and putting that plan into action, actually doing the thing, implementation. Step number 4 is the interaction. It's the response, right? And that could be internal, right? Say we create the podcast and we had a reaction for episode 1. Oh man, that wasn't it. It didn't feel like it was a home run. I felt like we had a good at bat. We got up there, we saw some pitches and we made contact. Maybe we got a hit. I think we got a hit because we uploaded it, so that's huge. But what's the reaction? What's the interaction between us as the creators, and also what's the interaction between us as the creators and the audience or the client, or does that make sense? The interaction of the creation, I think, is a vital step in how your product or how your video or how your service is received on the other end.
How you react. So basically what you're saying is the reaction of how I was waiting on you were gonna say something.
Oh no, I
You
think it kind of froze, but go ahead. So it's like interaction. So it's how you interact and how the response. How do we how is this thing being responded to?
I'm gonna have to sit on that a little, because yeah, that in itself is its own podcast.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You could. The thing I love about frameworks, right? Have you ever been to a house that just got built? I mean, that's something that Morgan and I love to do is like just go. The kids, they hate it at first, and then once they walk through the first house, they want to go to another one. But a lot of times we'll go to these new build neighborhoods and like see the framework, right? We'll see this beautiful house on the outside with, all the finishings, and then we walk inside and it's just concrete floors with a bunch of 2x4s for studs for walls, and you're walking through, it's like, oh, this is where the bathroom's going to be, this is where the kitchen may be, but really that's all it is it's concrete and then wood studs, and it's nowhere near being fleshed out, it's nowhere near being finished. You don't see the granite countertops, you don't see the great vent hood, you don't see the stainless steel appliances, right? You don't see the hardwood floors or the shiplap on the fireplace. You don't see all that when it's just the framework. And so absolutely, like, each one of these can be a huge deep dive. Each one of these can be a podcast series by itself. But that's what a framework's for. It's to provide just the studs, right? And then it's the job of the listener to be able to, put in the insulation, put up the drywall, put up the paint, put on the finishings, hang the pictures, do all those things. To fill the space with furniture. So yeah, absolutely. Each one of these can be a deep dive, but it's a framework, and it's to create the structure.
Being able to create. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, like step 4 is the interaction and the response. Again, that could be an internal response. Hey, I reviewed this and I think I need to go back and fix this edit, or an external response from a client or the audience.
Now, what do you do when there's no response, right? Because sometimes right, because sometimes as creatives, we don't get a response, or even just by when we send the work to the client's excited to post. What I've noticed is that it's not that deep most of the time. But clients, when you send them to, or at least most of my clients react. They'll put the fire emoji,
Yeah.
but we will, every now and then get people that won't react. But I think sometimes it's just their excitement, because I notice they'll post it, but they don't react to it. But what do you do when there's no reaction?
I send it to you.
Do you?
I said, I need help, bro. I need somebody.
Someone's gonna have to react. No, seriously.
I need some validation right now after what I just created. Help me out, bro.
If
but
I
no,
don't
for real,
send, yeah, that's true.
That's
Go ahead.
also, again, we talked about the importance of community, right? Because a lot of the work that we do, we put our heart and soul into it. We put our creativity, we put our mind, we put our time into it, and that's important. That's valuable. And so, just as a human being, I want to be validated with that. And so,
and
yeah,
naturally too. I was just saying, naturally too, as creatives, I think most of us started off not receiving the validation, and most of the time that's, at least for me, the way it kind of, started off. You start receiving the compliments, the reactions, and you start to react because of that. I don't think we talked about we did say I started off when I was about 8 years of age, but like since I was so young, that's all I reacted out of. And I think now that I'm 30 years of age, my reaction even to no noise, even that has changed, obviously, because of age and maturity, but also just like being able to be okay with that.
Yeah.
Like it's not, you're not supposed to react or just a lot of us want that validation or the likes, right? You know, I think we posted a collaboration yesterday. I thought it was going to be so big, right? It
Womp
flopped.
womp.
Womp womp. But that's okay. Like, just keep posting, right?
Yep.
The right people will watch, and whoever needs to see that is, you know, it's vital. But you
Yep,
gotta be
100%.
able to step back.
Yeah, man, I was the same thing, bro. I was like, I posted it about 5 o'clock. Maybe it was the wrong time to post. I don't know.
Timing matters.
I just had to get it out, and because I knew I needed to post something, and I was excited about our podcast dropping, and posted it. And yeah, bro, like I remember like grabbing my wife's phone at my son's baseball game to check on everything. I'm just like,
I
bro,
do the
what?
same thing.
Like what just happened? Like I thought what I don't understand. But you know, again, it's just like I can't take that personally, but what I can do is I can interact with that, right? The people who liked, the people who commented, interacting, like it's a practical step to interact, right? Responding to comments, responding to DMs. You know, if you get a new follower, DM, hey, saw that you followed me, you know, thanks for the follow, you know, hope you're along for the journey, you know, what brought you along, whatever kind of data you want to receive back from that follower, that new follower, you can. But that's the important part of interacting, is just being real. And just, again, like our practical step is sending a text or replying to a DM or replying to a comment. So yeah, it's, again, like what's the interaction that you have for step 4? So again, the 5-step framework for creation, we have inspiration, which is the idea, initiation, which is the action, implementation, which is the plan and the follow through with the plan, and then interaction is the response that you get internally, externally, but how do you interact with the actual creation? And then step 5 is something that a lot of people, including myself, really struggle with. It's iteration. Okay, we posted something and it flopped. How do we make it better? Right? We created episode 1 and we were like,
Cringe.
okay, how do we make episode 2? You know, Mr. B says, you know, I want to race to make 100 videos. And you should race to make 100 videos. In each video, you need to make at least 1% better. How can I make this 1% better? And that's iteration. So it's not just creating different things just for the sake of creating, but like how do we improve? How do we make this better? How do we iterate? How do we take the things that are working and keep those, and then take the things that aren't working and then throw those out? What's the new thing that we can do to replace the thing that was not working? So how do we iterate in order to make the creation better?
Yeah, and there's like, again, going back to that, there's so many times where I have to self-evaluate myself and ask me, did I, you know, why did I post this for, you know, that reaction? And like, and I think that's where we have to even just, I believe for those that stop posting is because, you know, there's a lot of, here I go being distracted, because that's just the mind of a creative. I don't know if anyone does that when we're on camera, but it's a thing. It's a thing. It's a real thing.
Yeah, I got this. Shout out to B&H. This is my B&H purchase from New York
Is that
City.
what you got in New York?
Yep, the
What is?
Falcon
Let me see. Is that
F38 plate.
Okay.
Anyway, it's for my tripod. But yeah, it's my fidget spinner this morning.
But I was gonna, you know, leave it with this thought. I know we're wrapping up, but
Yep.
do you think that is everyone a creative? You know, because there's some people that say, I can't create. I don't. You know, that's not me.
Yeah, dude, I used to be in that boat. We talked about last episode about me being more technical, in the sense of other people had better ideas, but I was able to execute. And I think being a creative we get this label now, right? Because we're in the filmmaking space, we're in the photography space, the social media space. So automatically we get that label. We wear black. We get that label of being a creative. But I think everybody is a creative because we are created in the image of God, the ultimate creator. And, whether that's cooking a meal, do you follow the instructions or do you add a little bit extra? you know, do you put
That's
your own
creating.
spin on things? That's creating. Do you have a schedule? Do you have a routine? That's creating. How do you parent your kids? Whether you know it or not, that's creating. There are so many different ways that we create that we just don't give ourselves credit for. And for me as a creative, I'm like a crock pot. I get all the ingredients, just dump it all in the crock pot, and it's not done for a few hours because it has to sit inside of me. Like I'm one in a meeting where we'll have conversations and I'm just quiet. I'm just writing stuff down. And I don't have like these big ideas in meetings, but you give me a day and all of a sudden that crock pot is just simmering. And it's in the back of my mind as I'm doing my everyday life. And then all of a sudden I'll get the inspiration. I'll get those seeds, I'll get that match, the little spark of flame of inspiration. And then that's just my creative process. It's not instantaneous for me, and everybody's different the way that they get inspired and come up with ideas.
No, yeah, it's subjective. And how do you even just like avoid the spark from going out? Because throughout because sometimes I've had an idea or a thought and I hold on to it, and somewhere in the middle it's like falling apart. I'm still holding on to it, and then all of a sudden when I get towards like the end, I'm like, okay, I made it, but that was rough.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you even just that? I don't.
Yeah.
Did I ask the question? Yeah.
Yeah. I think kind of how do I keep the idea together and just finish it, take
Make
it to
sure.
the finish line.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the goal. Get it to the finish line.
Get it to
Post
the
it.
finish line.
Get it to the client. It's when we get stuck in our heads, it's when we get stuck and we don't finish that's what drives me insane. Like,
Yeah.
and a lot of times,
Same.
like there are external deadlines with clients, right? But even the internal projects, I'm just like, I got to get this done. I got to get this out. And then again, if you take it through this whole 5-step creation process, right? You have the inspiration, and then you put it into action with the initiation, the implementation, right? You come up with the plan, and you start working on it. You start editing it, and then it's like that step 4, right? That the interaction. Okay, I've done this. I'm rewatching it. I'm sending it to my client or to my community, and what's their response to it? How are they interacting with what I just created? And so again, it's just recycling this whole process, and then you can iterate from there. Okay, next time, I do a lot of sermon bumpers for churches and conference openers, and it's like, okay, next time, how can I reuse what's working and then throw away what didn't necessarily work? And so to answer that question, I think it's just getting it to the finish line and then learning from that process. And I think every time we take a step, every time we finish something, it gets easier the next time. Again, I'll bring up Omar El Takori again. He talks about as a coach, he's like, the thing I hate most about being a coach is when people tell me it's hard. Starting a podcast is hard. Starting a business is hard. Starting a YouTube channel is hard. Why is it hard? Because you've never done it. Every time you do something, it gets easier because you have that experience to draw from. And the more you do a certain thing, the easier it gets because you have the well of experience to draw from. And so I think in the creative process, to hold ideas together, the more ideas that you actually complete, the more projects you complete, the more that you can pull from that experience to make the next one more
Better.
efficient. Yeah. Did that answer your question?
Absolutely. That's a lot of gems right there.
Yeah.
I think where we looking with time? Are we still good? Let's
We're hey, if you're still watching, welcome. Welcome
it's
to the end of the film strip roll. We're here. We need to come up with something.
we're here. We
Hey,
do.
but for real, like if you're here, like go ahead and send us a DM, whether on Instagram, drop a comment on YouTube, leave a review for us on the podcast, because we appreciate you hanging on until the very end. And we know if you're still watching, if you're still listening, like you're in it, you're part of the fam, the Dynamic Range family. We're gonna come up with some sort of slogan here at the end, because I like that.
We're gonna have to do it in real time.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
already part of the community. There's no
Yeah.
turning back anymore. So I take
Yep.
this, super lightly. Is that the term, super lightly? I don't even want to, like, seriously, like, your time is valuable. Like,
Yeah.
just being able to make it towards the end of this second podcast or second episode.
Yeah, bro, we are like at the end. So if you're still here, if you're still watching, thank you. We do not take your time for granted. We don't take it lightly. And welcome to the Dynamic Range family. So if you're here at the end, go ahead and DM us. We read every DM. Go ahead and comment on YouTube, and also subscribe. Do all the things on YouTube. Hit the notification bell. That way you don't miss an upload. We're going to try to upload every Friday is our goal. That's our implementation plan, is to upload every Friday. So again, if you enjoyed this podcast, the 5-step creation process, we'd love to hear your feedback. Love to hear how we're gonna interact with you, the viewer, and we cannot wait to see you on the next episode. Thank you, Alfredo, for hopping on again, and love
It's
you,
an
bro.
honor. It's a privilege. Love you too, bro, and love you guys. It's I don't take this lightly. Thank y'all for your time. Y'all made it to the end of episode 2.
Let's go.
Dynamic
Let's
Range.
go. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Peace.
Peace.